That's more like it if you like the lopsided wins. Michigan getting the victory 86-72 at a 14-point victory at home at the Chrysler Center. After a 2-game road trip, they're back, and we're ready to talk about it here on the Maize and Blue Review. So we're here after every Michigan basketball game. And Michigan, it was a wire-to-wire boat race over the Hoosiers, and this was reminiscent, not of, you could go back to the first game against OU, and then they had the 2 tight games, but then they had that 10-game greatest ever stretch, and then it went down a little bit, and this was more like, even though it wasn't a 40-point win, it was more like they looked when they just looked like the greatest team ever, and it didn't look like the greatest team ever, but it didn't look half bad either, and it was really the defense overall and coming out and playing well, although there's some things you can nitpick as you'll see as you work through this one. Michigan was a 15.5-point favorite, and so they don't cover that, but they were back at home. They had that West Coast swing where they won both games of Washington and then Oregon, both by 10 points. So and this one, they took it right to IU right out of the gate. Indiana, I'll credit Michigan because the Hoosiers didn't look good and they weren't hitting anything, but I'll credit Michigan's defense. They look like they were just active and sticking to the Hoosiers, and Indiana just didn't have any semblance of offense. And Michigan ends up picking up their 17th win of the year with just that one loss to Wisconsin. So things, I don't know, back to normal, whatever you want to say. They were up 11 at the half. They were up by as many as 17 in the first 20 minutes, but it was really that defensive pressure. You look at the halftime numbers and you say, oh, wow, man, Michigan 57% field goal shooting for the team. That's awesome. 50% from downtown. They had struggled, especially from 3-point range over the last few games since the USC game. And I guess even in that USC game, they weren't really dialing it in from downtown. They did in the first half. But if you go to break and you say, well, they're only up 11, they could have been up a lot more. I would agree with that. They had 9 turnovers. And they were just 1 of 8 at the charity stripe. And so those were the 2 things that you would look at that you don't like if you were watching the game, saying you want to obviously be better from the free throw line. And the turnovers are the things that we talked about that was with this team all last year. And then at the beginning of this year, but then they corrected it over that 10-game run, and you don't want to see that come back where you say, oh, they're pretty good, except they turn it over. So they don't want to have that happen. And for Indiana, they look smaller. They were smaller. And then Michigan really went to the glass and cleaned them up, 24-8 rebounding edge at the break. Yaks only had 2 points. I liked the 2 points that he had. I'd said that, to get Yaks going, I know he plays the 3, and he did look good on that 1 3-pointer that he knocked in. He was 1 of 5. Looked good. I know the first one was an air ball, but I thought, throw him down in the post. And they did that in the first half, and I saw him do it one time in the second half. I like that part. Cadeau had a dozen at the break, and then Michigan's bench with a dozen. Cheddar and Trey McKinney both with 6 points at the break, and Michigan was looking pretty good. But I'd say that the spurt that won this game was coming out in the second half. Michigan knocked in some threes, forced Indiana to call an early timeout, and then Michigan really never looked back. They extended that lead. Indiana had some hot shooting, made it closer than actually I think it was, where it ended up a 14-point game. That's how I saw it. As always, we look forward to hearing what you have to say if you had any thoughts on this game as Michigan moves to 17-1 on the season. They're 7-1 in Big Ten play. So you like that part when you think about Michigan in conference and what they're doing. Let's see here. I got coming through. And right now, I don't have anything coming through. All right. Whatever. Can't do it on the fly. All right. Let's look through what the upcoming scoreboard we have, or the upcoming schedule for Michigan. And we'll look at some of the in-between numbers and analytical numbers. Balance attack for Michigan across the board. Their defense was the first thing that jumped out again in this one. Let's look through that box score while we have the chance. And guess what? We do have the chance to do that. Yak's only 2 points at the half, but he ended up with 15, 7, and 4. Obviously, a very good second half for Yaks. And that's the one thing you wanted to see if you're a Michigan fan with this team. Of course, you want to see him win. Of course, you want to see him get back to getting these double-digit leads and all of that and winning, going away. Sure, that stuff's all good. But individually, Lindenborg, I mean, this is somebody you really wanted to see going. You didn't have that at the half. But maybe this will be it for him, getting 15, 7, and 4. He had 3 steals and 2 blocks. Now, that's – you just sit back and look. That's the kind of Lindenborg game you want to see. 15 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, no turnovers. Great second half, not so fantastic first half. Elliot Cadeau, will have more on him. He was earned some honors in this game as he had 15 points, 4 boards, and a feed. 2 turnovers in this one, also had a steal, but 2 of 5 from downtown. You like that? Mara looked good. Mara had some wild plays. One, it was a high-low with Morez Johnson Jr., and he didn't catch the lob. He just tapped it in. You don't see that very often. That was pretty sweet by Mara. Burnett was good, driving early, active early, and 3 of 5 from downtown. You like to see that. I said 3 of 5 from downtown, and he was 3 of 4 from downtown. Just took 5 shots. 4 of them were threes, and he hit 3 of them. People early in the season were like, do you really want him with that wide base, the way he spreads his legs to shoot the ball? Because he wasn't shooting great early in the year. You don't hear that anymore. He's got a quick release. The ball just goes to him, and he sends it almost immediately. You like that. He's a solid player, kind of guy you need to win. 3-point marksman, but also can put the ball on the floor and be a straight line driver and jam it on you. You like to see that. Michigan's bench was pretty good in this one. You got Cheddar, ended up with 7 points. He had 6 in the first half. McKinney, the sky's the limit for McKinney. If you told me that coming up in February that McKinney would take off, or McKinney would up his game in March, McKinney would be a real factor in the tournament, I'd agree with all of that. Nothing, again, is going to surprise me with him. Gale did not have a good game, and so you'd like to, you like to see him get going like he was in a lot of that, where Michigan had their 10-game dominant stretch where Gale looked awesome and looked like the best 6-man in the country. He was not that. He struggled in this game. Kaysen, they didn't need him, and he didn't do a whole heck of a lot. 2 points and 2 boards. But all in all, you come away with this one if you're a Michigan fan, and you got to feel pretty good. Let's get that Maize and Blue review player of the game. And for the second game in a row, going to the Michigan point guard, Elliot Cadeau. Ended up with 17 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. You want to say you want more assists from your point guard? I'd say, yeah, I agree with that. But You don't mind the shooting, you don't mind the driving. And after he had 0 points against Washington, he got back-to-back games where he's in double figures. And, however you want to say it, I was thinking about it during the game. It's one of those things you say, who's their most important player? I was watching, I was thinking, Morris Johnson Jr. Heading into the season, I was saying Yaks because he's one of those guys that you're thinking that could be the player of the year, All-American. How could you go and say it wasn't Yaks? Well, you'd go to the point guard position and you'd go to Cadeau. It would be one of those three, or Mara, you could make a case for it. It'd be one of those four. I think you could make an argument for four guys. That's when you know you have a good team. You can make an argument for that Mara is their most important player, that Cadeau's their most important player, or Yaks or MJJ. That's when, again, you got something cooking when that's happening. Well, Michigan moved up in the rankings. They went from 2 to 4 to now they are the third ranked team in the country. Those polls come out on Monday. So that's good. That Michigan has stayed as the number one team in the Ken Pom overall rankings. However, a little bit of an adjustment in the efficiency. Offense has gone up. They're up to number 5 efficiency, 5th most efficient offense in the country. For most of the year, if not from week 1, Michigan has been the number 1 defensive efficiency team, and Purdue leapfrogged them for that honor. The analytic Ken Pom defensive efficiency number. I don't know if that's going to get under your skin if you're a Michigan fan or a Michigan coach, but you use anything you can. But number 1 overall, number 3, just 1 loss. Yeah, whatever. I've thought a lot about, and just like you, now that you're getting, you're into the second half of January, and if you're looking at February, they've got so many big games coming up, and there's a lot of good teams out there. You're looking at Patterson from Kansas and what he's doing. You're just looking across the country, all the teams that are up there. Of course, Michigan beat some of those teams, but they're going to have a lot of these teams coming up here in February, and we'll find out. And you want to have a team, of course, you want them to win it all. That's what, and they're the favorite, betting favorite, and you're thinking about a 1 seed. So everything is there for them. Just got to keep at it, try to enjoy it. And, they could be there in the end. I was going to say it's all you can ask for, and, go ahead and ask for something else, but I think that's all you can ask for. And that's what they have. Don is saying that Yaks is getting back to his previous form. Let's hope. Yes, I think that is well stated. Let's hope that he is getting back. Ryan says, truly, that's incredible. That's an incredible start sheet. Stats. I think that's what you're talking about. I don't know what that means. Gale had 5 turnovers. What's going on there? I think what's going on at times, Gale plays like a Gale from last year, where he's out there like a chicken with his head cut off, and that's what it looked like. The game goes too fast for him. He's sped up. He's not concentrating. All those different things. Now, that's bad Gale. Good Gale is awesome. He can be so dangerous. He can do everything. He's got big time ability. And so we've seen really good Gale. We've seen great Gale, like 26 in the tournament, that masterpiece against Texas A&M. But then we saw the rest of the season, which was really bad Gale. But he's been good Gale more than he's been bad Gale. But that's the thing when you have somebody like Gale, and he's each game he can have a super high ceiling, and then he could be terrible. When he's coming off the bench, if he's not playing well, he's not gonna. You've got plenty of other guys that you can put in there for him. So it's nice. It's a luxury for Dusty May. It's not like Gale needs to be in the starting lineup and then he's going to log 30 minutes and you're going to live or die with how he plays. No, if he's playing like a fantastic player that you've seen him be able to do, whether it's scoring or passing, rebounding and everything, well, he's going to get a lot more time. If not, then no, you sit him down. Michigan Go Blue 1324 says, would have liked to, I don't know what that says. Finish stronger onto, oh, you finish. Okay, there you go. He would have liked to have finished stronger. That's fine. People looking ahead to Ohio State. I like that. You know, it kind of feels like football a little bit. Get this game already looking ahead. So let's look ahead on that schedule. Oh, we got one more thing. We've got the NET evaluation tool. Michigan has stayed number one. They have been number one since the beginning of the NET tool when it came out. I don't know whether that was week 1, week 2, or week 3, around there. One of those weeks. But Michigan debuted at number one in the NCAA NET, and they have stayed at number one. These teams below them have exchanged a lot. Gonzaga's been 2. Arizona's been 2. Purdue is at number 5. You got Michigan, Duke, Arizona, Gonzaga, and Purdue with the net rankings. Net rankings and quad 1 wins and all those things. I think, once you get to February, a few games in there, you really start, I think, taking a longer look. I know you always hear people say, oh, nice quad 1 win or whatever, hey, okay, yeah. Next month, I'll be looking at Joey brackets a little bit more and like DeCourcy and all of that because, Michigan, as you're thinking right now, yeah, they got a lot of these great games coming up, but, I'm thinking about a 1 seed. I'm thinking about a Big Ten regular season title. Thinking about all of that. Let's check the upcoming schedule. Thinking about that right now. That's brought to you by this very feed you're watching or listening to right now. Why not join in and get absolutely more Michigan coverage, giving yourself or that U of M fan in your life the gift of the Maize and Blue Review? Go to on3.com and hit that subscribe button. You get the Maize and Blue Review. You get On3. You get Rivals. Are you kidding me? This is what you want if you're a Michigan fan. Get that done. Take care of business. We'll see you over there. We're talking Michigan basketball. I'll talk. You join up. You're on there. I'm on there every day. I'm on there on the Maize and Blue Review, and I am talking Michigan basketball. And I'm looking forward to seeing you over there. And all right, here is that schedule. Let's make that a little bit bigger, way bigger. There it is. How about Friday? It is true. Ohio State comes in, and it's going to be a special night. Trey Burke will make his way from the Caribbean, where he is playing in pro ball right now. In Puerto Rico, he will make his way up to Ann Arbor. I gotta believe, I was looking where he plays at Ponce in southern Puerto Rico. Gotta believe it's probably 80 degrees and the water, but he'll be coming up Friday, and it's gonna be like 100-degree difference for Trey. That's gonna be something. He's no stranger. He's no stranger to the cold weather. Michigan, Ohio State, 8 o'clock game on Fox. Looking forward to that. That'll be awesome. And then, speaking of awesome, you start taking a look at the stretch. You've got Ohio State sandwiched over these next 5 games into February. Michigan will make the trip down to Columbus, but you've got Nebraska coming up a week from today. They're a top 10 team. I think they're ranked number 6 right now. So you got number 3, number 6. We'll see how that ends up shaking out on Monday with the new poll, but that's going to be a hell of a game. Michigan, Nebraska, and then, of course, the one that we've been talking about all year long, the one everybody looks forward to, is Michigan and Michigan State. Well, you look forward to at least 2, and well, heck, we were 1 game away from seeing them play in the NCAA tournament, which would have really been something, but this is going to be special in and of itself at Michigan State coming up on a week from this Friday. So Those two games, Nebraska and Michigan State. Now you're looking at litmus tests, big time ball games, one at home, one on the road. Let's go. Penn State after that, Michigan. You say they owe them, but they don't really. They just played a close game and won, but they'll have that in the back of their mind. Hey, this Penn State had the ball with a chance to beat them on the last possession of the game. So they'll remember that, and then they'll have Ohio State, like I said before that. So that's how that's looking. And not so bad. Let's see. Chase called it a great win. Yeah. How with Ohio right there? Little early to be getting upset in any bracketology. DeCourcy having Michigan as a 2 seed. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't, like I said, I'm not going to get worked up about. I like, I don't mind Michigan fans. You get worked up at everything, the smallest little slight, get worked up. Okay. I'll wait till next month. Then I get worked up. People were getting worked up that Michigan wasn't ranked number 1 over Arizona. I was thinking, look, Arizona's beat. This is what Arizona was playing, a ranked team, and they beat them by almost 20 points. People were like, Michigan deserves to be number 1. Slamming the writers and everything else. Hey, it's okay. Whatever gets you rolling, going, excited about the college basketball season. I would think that. So you get big playoff games coming up on Sunday. There's no doubt about that. People probably just tune in for Ohio State because it's Ohio State. But what's going to be my point here? Next week, for a lot of people, is when the college basketball season is really going to start. Because now you're getting a team. Now, they played Gonzaga. They played, this was a lot earlier in the season. But now you're talking about in conference. And now you're really matching up Nebraska, Michigan State, and now you're off and you're going. So that's how that is going. We'll take a final question here, and it's from Chase, who says, what are some of the things you think we should work on? Maybe perimeter defense. Well, yeah, Indiana have knocked down some threes, so it'd be interesting. You could look at the numbers and say maybe they're 3-point field goal defense, but their 2-point field goal defense is number 1 in the country. They're the number 1 defense in the country. I would say intensity from the jump. There have been a few games when you just trace it back to USC where you say, all right, how different is this team than the one that was taking no prisoners and winning by 40 points? What's been the deal? Well, in those games, they were up by 30 or 40 at the half, which, is just completely unheard of. And you knew that was going to balance out somewhere. But I would say intensity right out of the gate. And they had that tonight. And they started it on the defensive side. It wasn't even just a barrage of offense or knocking down shots. It was defense. It was communication. So that was their biggest thing that I think they needed to work on. And they came out and they flashed that right out of the gate. And they also, I already mentioned this, but I thought the biggest stretch was the first 2 or 3 minutes of the second half. That was coming out of halftime. That was the same thing, keeping that intensity, no lulls, no let's let the game come to us, because people are coming after them. And so I think those two things. I think the other thing is they'll continue to look at the turnovers. There's some of these where you put them in the unforced category, and then free throws would be the one. But you're always looking at the free throw line, and you're telling somebody like Mara and working with him more mental than anything else. But what did he end up? Was he 3 of 7? So, there'll be a game where someone, 3 of 7, Cadeau was 3 of 6. You want to shoot better from the free throw line. We talk about things once you get to tournament time, 18 of 29. You want to be good at the free throw line. That can cost you. You want to end up being a team that doesn't turn the ball over more than cell phone's locking up. I'm not really sure why that is the case. I don't know. It's just a new thing or something. I don't know why. Not as handy with it today. Who knows? Here we go. What was I looking for? Oh, their overall turnovers on this game ended up with 13. They're under 15, so they had 9 in the first half, and then they probably got read the riot act. Was Dusty peeling the paint off the wall? I don't know, but whatever he did, they tightened that up in the second half. So they got better in the turnover. So I would say free throws. That's it. I don't do shout outs, YouTube. Oh, okay. But I'll make an exception here. Mr. Martini wants my thoughts on free throw shooting. That's you walked in, that's what we're talking about. It's nice to see Michigan State lose any game. So it'd be nice to see, you didn't have to see, you say it's nice to see Oregon beat Michigan State. It's nice to see, Michigan State lose. That's where it's at. I think that's where we are, and that's what it is. When it comes down to it, Michigan gets the 14-point victory. They're 7-1 in the conference. They're 17-1. They're the number 3 team in the country, and they are back at it on a banner night when they will send the number 3 jersey up to the rafters. That'll be a lot of fun. We'll talk with you on this very feed tomorrow at 2:00. And after we, have a good night's sleep and everything else, we'll see what were we thinking about the game last night. If there's any thoughts there, we'll have them. And as always, we'll be taking a look at football. There continues to be lots of news going on there. So it's final, Michigan 86, Indiana 72. Thanks so much for watching. Stay warm out there, folks. And we'll see you over on the Maize and Blue Review.